Mr. Roberts, will you please call roll?
Ms. Barnes?
Present.
Mr. Butler? Here. Mr. George?
Here.
Mr. Kruger?
Present.
Ms. Talley?
Here.
All right, everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, which is back here. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any additions or deletions to the organizational agenda
There is not.
that you know of? No? Okay. I'm going to need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I'm going to give that one to Vanjie.
The first one or the second one?
The second one.
Second.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you get those, Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So, point number one, to appoint, the board president.
Take the roll on the.
Oh, gotcha.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mrs. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Kruger?
Yes.
Ms. Talley?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Subject number one would be the appointment of the board president. I need a motion to appoint a board president.
I'm sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Mrs. Talley, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I move to appoint Matt Kruger as board president for 2023.
And I will second that motion.
Mr. Roberts?
Ms. Talley?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Kruger?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Next subject is to appoint a vice president. So I'll make a motion that Mrs. Talley is going to become vice president.
And I will second that motion.
Mr. Roberts?
Mr. Kruger?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Ms. Talley?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
The next subject is to appoint board duties. And there are two that we need to look at. The first one is going to be appointing of the OSBA legislative liaison. So I need a motion for that. I'll go ahead and appoint Ms. Talley.
I second it.
Mr. Roberts?
We've got to do both of them.
Both of them.
Oh, we're going to do this at time? Okay. And then I need two representatives for the CWJRD. And I'll also make a motion for Mr. George and Mr. Butler for those two positions.
And I will second that motion.
All right. Mr. Roberts?
Mr. Kruger?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Ms. Talley?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
The board appointed member to serve for the business is not on here. Are we appointing somebody?
We are not going to appoint somebody through the agenda, but we will ask for, I was gonna wait for my portion of the agenda and, later on and ask for those who are interested.
Okay.
So we will definitely do that at that time.
So it's not really becoming a board-appointed duty for that? It'd be more of a volunteer or a non-official appointment?
So this is a great time to kind
Go
of
ahead,
talk about
yeah.
this. So the committees, there's different committees. So these are, so to speak, board appointed where we are through the CWJRD, 2 members of our board are to sit on their board. So that is where these two would come from. And then the OSBA Legislative Liaison is a required board. When we move on to Personnel Policy Committee, those are superintendent committees that we ask for board members to sit on. So that's why it's not a board-appointed committee as it is more, we want board members to sit on those committees, but they're more superintendent committees.
Okay.
And we will want you to sit on that board.
Yes,
if
we
that's-
want, we
I just
still.
asked because last year we
Sit on that
didn't
committee.
want this, so I didn't know. if
There
it
has
was
been a
different.
change. You're
Okay.
absolutely correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for that question.
Any other questions on that? So we're gonna set the, subject 4 is we're gonna set the board meetings. So if you look at the dates, they should all fall in line with the third Monday of the month except, what is it, February? That's early on the 13th, correct?
Correct.
February, and then June 12th for Juneteenth.
Yep. January, February, and June
Yep.
are the second Mondays.
So any questions? I need a motion to approve those.
When is graduation this year?
Graduation is,
Let's ask Ms. Warren, she should have that on the top of her, on the tip of her tongue.
May 26th?
I think it's May 20th. You're correct.
May 20th, okay. Thank you.
You might want to save the date, Dave.
December 18th
yes.
is,
Let's get, can we get a motion in a second before we discuss?
Okay.
dates?
So I need a motion to approve.
So move.
I'll go ahead and second. Discussion?
is December 18th the week that we're out of school for holiday break?
Let me see here.
Or
Should
are
not
we
be.
starting that week?
Yeah,
Like the
it should not be
20th?
because, well, let me see.
I think we're starting like the 18th, I mean the 20th and going through the next week.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I believe you're right, Benji. That starts the Monday, and then Christmas is that next Monday.
Right. So do we start on that Monday, the 18th, or do we start our break on the 20th through the only reason why I'm asking is, are we really gonna have people coming in here for a
We
meeting
will
on the
not
18th?
if there's no school, but there is school. So winter break next year is this next school year is December 20th through January 3rd.
So it'll be that
December
Wednesday.
20th through January
Yes.
3rd, okay.
Yep.
So we're okay with the 18th?
Yep.
If we are
We'll
doing
have
it
it
that
done.
week?
Are you guys?
Say that,
I'm
but you're
good.
not, you're gonna be shopping. Yeah, I'm okay, I just wanted to make sure we were,
I'm
okay.
not shopping until the 24th.
Oh, okay.
That backfired this year with the weather.
Good sales after the 25th. Any discussions? We've got graduation on the 20th, and then that December 18th, we're still good on that board meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Roberts?
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Krueger?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes,
Mr. George?
Yes.
Ms. Tally?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. And the first item is a tax advance authorization. I'm sure Mr. Roberts is going to take this one.
Get a motion to,
We're going to motion every one of these.
just to approve the consent
Consent.
agenda.
You just have to do it one time.
So
for the
moved.
consent.
Second.
Awesome.
It'll take me a little bit here, folks.
It's all
Now we
good.
can discuss.
Get back in
It's
the
like riding a
saddle.
bike.
Yep.
done a good job.
Well, so far. It's not over yet. Okay, Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, tax advance authorization, we do almost all of these consents every year. This gives us the authority to ask for a tax advance before the settlement, final settlement is done. We haven't been doing this much because they've been getting the settlements out fairly quickly, and it just kind of messes up our postings, but it does give us the chance to do it. If the county says we're not going to get you a settlement until April, then we would start doing advances if we had to, but they've been pretty good about getting settlements out in February, early March, so there hasn't been a huge need for advances, but we would at least want to have that authorization to turn into them. Number 2 is our tax budget. That's an every year thing, county auditor requires this by law. It's mainly our financial forecast summarized in a different way, and then the debt summarized, so it just gives them an idea of what the cash balances look like to set rates. It's kind of an old-fashioned thing. The tax budget's kind of outdated, but Ohio Revised Code hasn't caught up to kind of eliminate the tax budget, so the county auditor still wants it. And then board compensation is the next one, if you want to take that one.
Yep, this one just states that board members will be paid the 125, which is the maximum rate per Ohio Revised Code for meeting attendance, and that is in accordance with Board Policy 0140.
Okay.
Number 4 is another routine item for superintendent and treasurer professional meeting approval. It authorizes both of us to attend local and state meetings during the year. Number 5 is to allow superintendent to have routine duties. Again, this is typical for every year. Allows duties without having to bring them to the board. Number 6, same with the treasurer's authorization for routine duties.
So on number 5 and number 6,
Yep.
there's, just reading through this, it seems like there's a gray area between 25,000 and 50,000. So, or does it just require board approval if it's over 25 but less than 50 and doesn't need to go to bid?
Any contract over 25,000 is required to have board approval.
Okay.
Anything under that does not.
Okay.
The $50,000 is required to do
Anything over 50 bid?
bid it. yeah.
Okay, okay,
Yep.
okay, that makes sense, thank you.
Also, Mrs. Hunt.
Yep.
In regards to number 5,
Yes.
given the context of the reorganization, there's no need to change anything under that, since this is routine. Basically, the superintendent's routine duties are still the same, or did you make any additions to this
Nope.
section?
They are still the same.
Given the reorganization?
Yes, there are still, these are the duties that we are allowed to make without coming to the board for approval. So there were no changes that were made from last year.
Okay, just wanted
Big ones
to.
are, for the superintendent, are personnel decisions.
Okay,
Last year, to accept resignations and hire people before the board date. If you didn't have that, then it would be tough to get people and assure that they're gonna have a job if your board meeting's like on the 3rd Monday. And she's a week after the prior board meeting, it gives her the authority to offer someone a job or accept a resignation and then bring it to the board at that later date. It's probably the biggest ones in hers. The biggest one in mine is probably the investment of funds.
Okay.
Different things.
okay,
Outside of the contracts, which we both have. If you look at ours, we both have the ability to approve contracts over 25,000 and bid over 50. But those are the two main things that kind of gives the treasurer and superintendent.
okay. Thank you.
And that is all for consent.
Any other questions or discussion? Mr. Roberts, you call roll to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mrs. Talley?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Krueger?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. I need a motion to adjourn the organizational meeting, please.
So moved.
And I'll second. And Ms. Barnes will second. And Mr. Roberts?
Ms. Talley? Ms.
Yes.
Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Krueger?
Yes. Adjourned. We started at I'd like to call to order this January 9th, 2023 regular board meeting for the Canal Winchester Local School District. Please call roll, Mr. Roberts.
Ms. Barnes?
Present.
Mr. Butler?
Here.
Mr. George?
Here.
Mr. Krueger?
Present.
Mrs. Tally?
Here.
All right. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Nope. Okay. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Ms. Barnes, and I'll go ahead and second that. And Mr. Roberts?
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Krueger?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mrs. Tally?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 to approve the agenda. And presentations, we have CWEA present for a presentation. Is that mic turned on?
It is
Hi, my name is Kevin Barhorst, presenting on behalf of CWA. I teach math at the high school. And this month we had at Indian Trail, Bailey Spriggs earned her master's degree in early childhood education. At Winchester Trail, Bobby Phillips and Audrey Rice both earned their masters of music and music education from Capital University. At the middle school in the fall, Michelle LaRue presented at a conference on behalf of the International Dyslexia Association, where she volunteers since her children are both dyslexic. And at the high school, Megan Longstreth earned her Master of Education in Instructional Design and Technology degree in past November. And also, on behalf of everybody I've talked to, thanks again for those Canal Winchester hoodies and hats. I know I personally wore mine probably half a Christmas break, but everybody that was fantastic. Thank you.
Well, thank you for all you all do every day. So it's the least we could do.
We appreciate it.
Of course.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Board have any questions? You're good.
Thank you for not including any math in your presentation.
It's the budget for those hoodies and hats.
So we will move on, and there is no public voice this evening, which will go into the executive reports, and we'll start with Mr. Roberts with the treasurer's report.
Good evening. We're going to go into a couple things, not too much detail, but at least wanted to highlight a couple things since we're halfway through the year.
Halfway through the year.
Yeah, believe that?
Wow.
This fiscal year anyway. The audit did wrap up finally. Seemed like they were on site for about 6 months. So we didn't have any significant issues. Had a couple verbal comments, but other than that, we had no management letter and no report comments. So it's another clean audit, which is always nice. Shows that you're doing the right things. Expenditure-wise, we are forecasting pretty accurately on the first 3 lines here: salaries, benefits, and purchase supplies. We're almost right at 50%, right where we should be. Supplies is right at 76%. Believe it or not, that's actually started coming down. We came out of the gate strong with supplies, and we've kind of mellowed out to get back to 76%. So we're right on track, I think, with prior years. Debt, we're pretty well done with, other than a little bit of interest that we'll pay later in the year. And then other objects, we're right around the budget line of 50%. So expenditures are trending right where we think they should. If you look at the total number, we're going to be at 66% because you've got the big debt payments that have been 100% complete. But looking at line item by line item, we're right in line with the forecast. Same with revenues, really no surprise. Real estate taxes of 45%. That makes sense because that was the second half collection of our prior year. Our first half collection is always greater, which we will be getting here soon. So that will make up about 55%, which will even that out. Along with this tangible personal property, income tax continues to trend higher. We'll be getting the third quarter here at the end of January, so we'll know if that trend the first 2 quarters continues. State grant is right on track from state revenue. Then property tax allocation falls right in line with these two, so it's trending well. Other revenue is trending up. The interest income is very good this year. You'll see in a second, we're already up over 500,000 through the first part of the year, so I'm really pushing us to hit that $1 million interest mark. We're gonna get really aggressive. I'll talk about that in the next, when we approve the lease purchase. We're gonna get really aggressive with some investing and take advantage of a couple things with interest rates. So any questions on this financial? If we look at the year over year piece of it, you'll see that it's tracking pretty close to what we had last year. Let's see. Year over year, revenue's up 3.3 million. You can back out this 855,000 because that was a transfer to pay debt. So really, you're looking at these lines, and even the unrestricted is going to appear to be a little bit high because the state changed the way they did it last year. So we really didn't start picking up the new funding formula until January, February. So this is slightly inflated. So, but overall, we're still probably up 2 million on revenues. Expenditures up 17.7 million. You can eliminate this as a one-time transfer to do the funding project for the middle school and Indian Trail. So you're really looking at these lines here, which makes up about 2.5 million. So if you were to back out the things that weren't really year over year, we're a break even or a break even point on the revenues over expenditures.
So, Nick, the ESSER funds, that's still being accounted for in that, and is that under 1.6 for other revenues?
No, ESSER funds are in a completely different fund. This is just general fund. The ESSER
Okay.
dollars are in a federal grant fund. Where you're gonna see the impact on this report is the 12.6 is much lower than it would be if ESSER was gone. So we've got about 38 employees in the ESSER that will all be coming back to general funds, and this number will pick up drastically in 2 years. So
What's that revenue, what's that number, the expense number?
It's about 3 million.
3 million.
Yeah, but that's in the forecast that we approved in November, so that big jump is accounted for at that point. So as stated, interest at this point through 6 months, 584,000. Last year, this was a full year of collections, 414 and 472. So interest rates are back for a period of time. The federal government keeps raising the rates. I mean, Star Ohio on average, which is the state treasury, which is almost like a checking account ran by the state, had averaged 2 to 2.5%. It's at 5 right now, so it's double what the average rate was. So rates are up, but we do expect those to, as long as short-term rates are up, long-term rates are going to continue to come down. So we've got a plan to really hit the 3 to 5 year window to take advantage of higher rates, and then when the short-term rates start to drop, we're in position to still have the higher rates, if that makes sense. So
So
I'm not going to say we're hitting $1 million, but I'd say we're going to probably hit $1 million for the first time, which has kind of been our target for us. We just barely missed it in these 2 years.
I was gonna say, do you and Mr. Watson have a
Not yet.
over/under on $1 million?
No, not yet.
Okay.
They lost the wager to me last time, so I don't think they want to.
They're not gonna step back
I
in?
would like to make note, I took his side.
Okay.
When we had to take sides, I went with him because he's,
Oh, because he's a numbers guy?
They never paid
Yeah.
paid us the lunch, though,
They
by the way.
didn't.
So Mr. Sotler and Mr. Watson still owe us
they do.
lunch.
That's on board record, so.
That's right.
So any questions on the general fund forecast report? We're sitting with $58.2 million. That's all funds total. So insurance, health insurance specifically. Let's look at year over year. Revenues are up 270,000. That's expected with more employees. Claims are up 775,000. We're going to keep an eye on that. That's a pretty big increase. Fixed costs are actually down 22,613. And the reason that's down is we received a bigger piece of the pharmacy rebates. So our stop loss insurance went up, but we got a bigger pie of the pharmacy rebates. So currently we're down 435,000 on the year compared to 46 last year, so about $482,000 worse. This month we would have been break even on the month, but we did the premium holiday and we lost the employee share, so we lost about $120,000. But we're still sitting with almost $2.3 million in the health insurance fund. As stated last month, a lot of high claimants are getting up to that $150,000 number. Once that happens, we should see a break in these claims, because once your high claimants get up, the plan's no longer responsible, so then you start kind of coming back down to more of the trend line.
Is there a goal or a number that we shoot for on the cash balance to maintain?
Yeah, required. So we're required to have a certain number, and we have that done every year. It's required by law. And it sits in the almost $900,000 range that you're required to have by law. We keep this balance because if we ever change the plan, this is going to help us. If we ever switch to like a high deductible or HSA or anything like that, those dollars will help us to kind of seed the employees' HSA plans.
Okay.
So there's a plan if we ever were to switch, and that's what we would do with a big chunk of the fund balance to help people get going.
So there's a state requirement, but do you have a number in your head that you like to maintain, or?
Yeah, 1.5 to 2 million range, just to be safe, because you never know with the claims.
Right.
You try to a piece of that. So if you had a lower balance, you're going to be more aggressive with rates. So this balance allows us to be really aggressive with rates, that's why we only had the 3.4%. Without the balance, you're more aggressive. So
Yeah.
you're probably looking at 5 to 7 or 8% increases.
Okay.
So having this kind of cash fall allows you to kind of say, all right, we're willing to roll the dice a little bit more.
Mhm.
So if we lose a couple $100,000, it's not really that big of a deal. But if you're sitting with $1 million or $1.5 million, you can't really take those
Yeah.
kind of estimated risks.
Got it.
So is that balance that we have is the difference in that balance explains the difference, is that just the difference over the previous year, or do we have a number that we try to stay at so that we can track where we are with our number over the previous period?
The cash balance really has no impact other than being aggressive with the rates. Every year we
Okay.
do a rate calculation. Like last year, they recommended like a 10% increase. We ended up doing 6 or 7.
Okay.
Because of the cash balance, I wanted to take more of a risk and give the employees kind of a break on percentage increase. So as long as you kind of have this, you can kind of fight back and take care of the rates a little bit different. But every year, no, we do. We try to set rates to break even. We really don't look at the cash balance from that standpoint.
Okay.
So that's all I have for tonight. Any questions on the 2 reports?
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. Superintendent's report.
Right. Thank you and congratulations, President Kruger, and Vice
Yes, ma'am.
President Talley. We appreciate your service. Real quick, my members from my council aren't here, so I'm going to move on. January is School Board Recognition Month, and we would like to take a moment this evening to recognize our Canal Winchester Board of Education members. We have President Matt Kruger, Vice President Monica Talley, Board Member Vangela Barnes, Board Member Dave George, and Board Member Kevin Butler. Our school board members play an important role by working closely with the parents, education professionals, and community members to create the educational vision our community wants for our students. They work in partnership with our administrative team to help formulate goals, define results, and set the course for a high-quality and equitable educational program for all students. Please join me in a round of applause to say thank you to our board members for their hard work and leadership to ensure our students are prepared for success. Very nice. For those of you listening to our live stream, please make a special effort to tell each school board member his or her hard work has been noticed and is very much appreciated. You each have a gift bag in front of you. And you also have a certificate that we would just like to honor you this month for Board Appreciation Month, Board Recognition Month. In your bag, you will find a hint of the token of our appreciation that you'll receive soon. Unfortunately, we experienced delays due to a supply chain and shipping delays that you may or may not have heard of recently. But we're hopeful by the end of this week, if not early next week, your actual
You allowed to look?
small gift will arrive. Yes, but
hint.
it's a small hint
We get
of what you
something
will
extra?
receive.
If we guess the hit,
We're getting a vacation?
a vacation?
Right. Maybe, yes.
Maybe.
I didn't say yes, I just said.
Bottle of pina
Small
colada.
little token to give you a little hint, but we will have delivered those to you.
In the lawn chair.
The excitement. But absolutely. But we do appreciate you all for everything that you do. I truly believe that the representation we have in front of us is a great representation of our community. From Nick and I both to our entire district administrative team, we appreciate all that you do. So thank you.
Thank you.
One more round of applause to show the huge crowd here. I would also like to just take a quick second to share. For the first time, we are excited to present 2 of our staff members with our first ever CW Schools Knocked Our Socks Off Award. We will honor 2 staff members each month during board meetings. Recipients are nominated by their peers, and our district leadership team will select 1 certified and 1 classified staff member from the nominations. Recipients will receive, and I won't tell you yet because we have recipients here, but I will share what they receive once we provide our first one with their gift. So I would like to take a moment and ask for Jennifer Ebert to come forward. You can just come up and stand right at the front. So Jennifer was nominated by her colleague Nicole Hefty. Nicole says that Jennifer is awesome and goes above and beyond to help her in her first year of teaching. She takes work off of her plate and saves her from being constantly overwhelmed. She is so grateful to have you in her classroom. So we would like to present you with a certificate. Thank you. There you go. And then on the back is the name. And then we would also like to present you with your gift. And you have to open it so that everybody can see what they are.
It's socks.
CW branded socks.
Thank you.
I'm wearing these tomorrow.
Well, we so appreciate you. It could not go to a better person for our first recipient, so we appreciate you. Congratulations. Thank you. Hold on, I gotta get a picture with you.
I think you're wearing them well.
Yes.
Here's our motto.
Exactly.
Where's the socks? Oh, you want them out? Sorry.
They're clean.
Mostly.
Mostly.
Oh, I'm sorry. And Jennifer is a paraprofessional for us at the high school, so we appreciate you.
Congratulations.
Our second recipient who is unable to be here with us this evening was nominated by colleague Emily Portales, and that is Erin Bloomfield. Emily says, Erin has taken on teaching all sections of Spanish at our middle school. She has gone above and beyond for our students by taking on the responsibility of Mrs. Lindsted's class while simultaneously teaching her own students. She has put the needs of our students first and done what is in the best interest for them and not herself. She has adapted in taking on this challenge with grace and professionalism. I am proud to work with such a dedicated and helpful teacher. So we will also deliver to Erin her socks as well as her certificate. So just wanted to take that brief moment during the report and just recognize those two for going above and beyond and being recognized by their peers. And lastly, as I mentioned during the organizational, we do have a couple committees that are superintendent-led, and I would like to ask for those of you that are interested. So we'll start first with our Business Advisory Committee members, and who would like to participate and serve in that role?
I would like to continue serving in that role.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vandy.
Yeah, I would also like to continue.
Wonderful. Awesome. So we have Kate and Dave. We thank you both for participating in that. And then our last one is our policy committee meeting, which, who is interested in serving in that role?
I would like to volunteer.
Wonderful. So Monica, continue. Thank you. Monica.
Continue, Monica. And Mr. Butler will,
I was gonna wait and see if anybody else was interested.
oh, no.
I wasn't trying to, but I'm willing, I'm willing to do policy again. I just wanted to make sure I gave other board members an opportunity to serve as well. So, but I would be more than happy to serve in that role
Well, we
again.
appreciate you serving, and it does allow you opportunity to spend a little bit additional time with me. So I appreciate you both for continuing in that role.
Thank you.
All right.
and I will fill as a substitute if Mr. Butler is not able to make it.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you. All right. And that is all I have for my report this evening.
Any questions on the executive reports? No? Okay, we're gonna move on to the consent agenda. I need an approval for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Got Mr. George, and then
Second.
second is gonna be Ms. Barnes.
All right, thank you. We'll start first with the minutes from the December 19th board meeting. Moving on, we have donations. We do have a donation to the high school drama from the Canal Winchester Area Historical Society in the amount of $750. And then we also have 3 donations from Madison Township, 3 separate amounts of $250 to the high school Hope Squad, Indian Trail and Winchester Trail, and then an additional one for Indian Trail. And that would be, one of those were for the tutoring boxes and the others are for the elementary snack pantry. So we want to thank and accept those donations with gratitude. Moving on to number 3, we have our classified personnel. We do have a resignation from John Davis custodian. We do have a leave of absence request from bus driver Julie Gibson. Moving on to number 4, we are asking you to approve the supplemental personnel for the spring. You'll notice there that we are filling the lacrosse, middle school track, and middle school softball. And we also have 2 volunteer coaches as well. And that is all for the consent agenda.
We have any questions? Discussion on the consent agenda? If not, Mr. Roberts, go ahead.
Mr. George,
Yes.
Mrs. Barnes,
Yes.
Mr. Butler,
Yes.
Mr. Krueger,
Yes.
Ms. Tally.
Yes.
Passes 5-0. We're going to move to action items. And we're going to take each one with their own approval, or, their own approval. So the first one is going to be lease purchase resolution. I'll go ahead and make a motion,
And I'll second.
and that's going to fall to Mr. Roberts.
So initially, we were not going to finance the capital project, but we got a really good rate. So our overall rate for 15,
2006,
Yes.
compensated at the maximum rate up to a maximum of 25 meetings per calendar year. That's not in line with ORC.
Correct, and that's why it's red, because it's
Okay.
eliminated.
I got
So
it. I
if you
got
look
it.
down to where it says effective January 2010, it says, board members will be compensated for each meeting attended at the maximum rate allowable. There's
Okay.
now, there's no longer the 25 meetings, so that's why that's eliminated. There is language in Ohio Revised Code that states that there is a maximum of $5,000. But, so the policy's just cleaned up to reflect.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah, was that something we did back in the day?
It was.
Language, or is that?
It was older language that was there from 2006, but then once 2010 hit, that language went away with the meeting, maximum meeting of
Maximum
25, but we never removed it from policy. So we had two different languages in there. So really, once 2010 hit, we should have removed the language
I got you.
to then carry on.
And just to provide further context, when we looked at this policy, there was some kind of ambiguity regards to meetings because, as you know, we all serve on differing committees, and some of those we have meetings, but then there's kind of some ambiguity around whether board members should be compensated for those. But we were able to go back to the ORC, was it 121? And basically,
Yeah.
if it has to, the meetings that we're compensated for has to involve the majority, which would be a quorum, the 3 out of the 5, and it has to follow the sunshine laws, open meeting rules, and all of that. So this policy helped to kind of elaborate and make that very clear.
Fine.
So there's no question on that, what we should be compensated for.
Any further discussion before we vote? We're voting on all of them.
All of them, yep, as a whole.
Mr. Roberts?
Ms. Talley?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mrs. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Krueger?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Next on the action item is the board member training compensation. I need a motion,
So moved.
and I'll go ahead and second that.
And this was added, Ms. Talley went to the OSBA conference and we approved her in November for the payment that she would receive being reimbursed. And because our policy stated that it was trainings, it didn't state how much. This again is another reason why we looked at the policy. But she would have been reimbursed for that training. And because we didn't, we would bring those to the board so that you all can see what trainings you all are attending, and that's your approval. And so that's why it is in front of you today, because it was just overlooked,
Yeah,
really. And
what was prior was just the expenses, such as parking, meals, mileage. But I wasn't compensated for actually attending the training per the ORC.
Got it.
So I have the question that I did not submit anything for that because last year I attended and I didn't get anything for that, and I didn't really submit anything for the meals and things because I didn't think it was no big deal. It was a minimal amount.
Yeah, I didn't either.
So is there still time for me to submit for this, or?
that was
Because I just
last
assumed
year.
that because it wasn't paid for last year, it wasn't going to be paid for this year, so I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah. Did you attend this year?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah,
Oh.
I don't know.
Then if you attended this year,
I just didn't submit any of my parking or my meals because it wasn't no big deal. I was like, that's too much to think about, but.
This is up to the board, that's why I think we want this on the board agenda for you guys to approve, because it does say a training program. So I think we want to leave it up to the board to say, yeah, I mean, otherwise, I mean, you could go to a zoo conference and you're gonna sit there and say, well, that has nothing to do with the Board of Education.
yeah.
So I think the approval process is good for the board.
Absolutely.
And for the board to decide what they see as the training that should be approved, so you guys can decide that amongst yourselves on.
I'll say since we're, looking to approve Monica's compensation, obviously we have to take Vanjie in consideration for next month.
I'll submit whatever is necessary. I just didn't submit anything because last year I didn't have to submit anything because it wasn't covered, so I didn't know.
This is kind of new discovery for the board because there's never,
Right.
we've never,
This is all new to me too, so. I'm just
yeah,
like,
we've never done this before, so, and I guess just, it was in policy, but it just never was recognized, so.
Yeah, it was not a practice that the board prior to took part in,
Yeah.
so.
So
Last year was even a question if they were even covering the cost of us going,
Well,
so.
because last year, you
I was
were a new
new.
you weren't on the board yet, so
Right.
that was where the discussion came
Yeah,
around.
definitely.
It was November prior to you joining the board, so
Yeah,
there
so
was
you said
discussion around that, I believe.
So she wouldn't be if since she wasn't on the
Yeah.
board.
Yeah, there was that, like, last year. I know that was the discussion that I recall hearing about. I wasn't a part of it,
Yeah, it was
but-
covered last year. The cost of me going last year
Right,
was covered.
we cover the cost of the
Yeah.
you attending,
The
Mm-hmm.
but
reimbursement
the
wasn't there.
reimbursement piece was the one that
Oh,
is
okay.
different. So there's the cost that we pay for the registration of attendance, and then the reimbursements and the compensation are the two that would have to come in front of the board.
Okay.
So Monica, you already got reimbursed for
Expenses only.
for the mileage and the, okay.
Yes.
And then this is just
days of
us, I guess certifying that, yes, you did attend that and you get paid at the meeting
the-
rate for the
yes,
training.
per the
I got
training
it. Okay,
provision in the
okay.
law.
You know, that
Take a
makes sense.
PTO day.
Yep,
To do that in 2 days,
days.
both of you were there,
Yeah.
so.
And one of the nice things too about the conference, because we attend as well, and there is an app, and you can go in and kind of click on what you attended. So that's another way of, once you attend, you can kind of click on it, and it will print you off an attendance form of what you went to. So those are things that you could also use
Cool.
if needed.
So I'd say based on the outcome of this vote, we should look to add Ms. Barnes for next month's action item. Any further discussion? Mr. Roberts?
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Krueger?
Yes.
Mrs. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. George?
yep.
Mrs. Tally?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Need a motion for adjournment
So move.
at
Second.
7:41. I got a first by Mr. Butler and a second by Ms. Barnes. And you can roll call that.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Krueger?
Yes.
Mrs. Tally?
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for showing up.
Thank you all.
Thanks for the card and certificates.
Thank you,
Very
everyone.
nice.